Persistent rain and a rush of water brought by Cyclone Eloise in recent weeks have pushed dam levels higher across South Africa. But despite this, farmers to the south are grappling with an unprecedented crisis. Let's discuss this further. We're joined via Zoom by Sputnik Ratau, spokesperson for the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. Sir, pleasure having you on the program. Welcome.
Good morning, Blaine, and thank you so much for having us on this Saturday morning.
All right, so talk to us. So on one hand, we're thankful in terms of the amount of rain that we have and certain dams are full, but in other areas, not so much. Give us a sense of the state of play here with regards to those that are grappling with drought.
Yes, Blaine, we are in a state of paradox, if I may say so, where we have the one part where we've had a huge amounts of rainfall and therefore the ecosystems recharging very, very well. And yet on the other side, when you look at, for instance, the Alcoa water supply system in the Eastern Cape, which is still at around 16.2%, which is very low, and we know that it supplies mainly your East London and surrounding areas there. Your Amatol is still in the Eastern Cape, stands at about 37.5%. When you contrast that with the integrated Vaal River system, which is supplying mainly your Gauteng, Northern Cape, Northwest, Mpumalanga, and the Free State, it is around the 90s, 92.9 as at yesterday. And we know that the others, for instance, are way over the hundreds. Luvuvu, for instance, in Limpopo is over 100. So we're having those contrasts, and we do have some parts also in Limpopo and some in the Northwest, which are also struggling still with water availability.
Yeah. Look, the common refrain that we've been hearing for a number of years now is save water. But it's hard to do that in terms of when you're dealing, on one hand, with leaks, burst pipes, infrastructure issues. Talk to us about that in terms of the fight to combat these leaks as well. Where are we in that play?
We are right in the middle of that battle. It's very difficult because we have the bulk infrastructure, which is structurally sound, which infrastructure is well looked after and well maintained. And then we have, the infrastructure that is supposed to be giving us the reticulation process at local level, which is where we are having most of those difficulties in terms of capacity, technical capacity, for instance, for those people who can be able to look after the infrastructure. We're also looking at the fact that your operations and maintenance budgets in most of the municipalities is normally, rerouted to other functions. And ultimately you have a couple of years where you are not looking after your infrastructure. That will give you problems when that infrastructure is due for refurbishment or even repairs. And we also have the issue of your illegal connections, by the way. And illegal connections do not just speak to, what people normally look at as the first point of call, which is probably your townships and your informal settlements and so on. But you also have illegal obstructions from source by some of the major water users. So it's a combination of all of those things, including pollution, by the way, that also has an impact. I
want to talk about pollution, but the list of examples that you've given us with regards to the possible cause of this, notwithstanding, how much would you attribute these challenges to poor governance?
It's the larger part of it. Poor governance emanates from municipalities probably that are not fully functional, and once that comes in, you will have an impact on everything else that follows, and that includes how you utilize your budgets and ultimately how you utilize how you look after your infrastructure. And for us, really, the major issue is to make sure that the responsibility of looking after the reticulation infrastructure is top of mind for municipalities, because that is where you get your basic services being delivered.
You spoke about pollution. Give us a sense and some of the concern areas in South Africa with regards to pollution. Where's your focus? Where's the hot spot, so to speak?
Pollution is all over. You look at your acid mine drainage, for instance, that is coming from your mining activities. So you would look at particularly your Mpumalanga Highveld, where you have a lot of the coal mines. You look at your Gauteng with a lot of the gold mines and so on. And that is where we actually started looking at the issue of acid mine drainage. And that is a huge impact from the mining sector. When you look at the agricultural sector with the pesticides and all that, and obviously the flows from there, that might even flow into the water courses and therefore pollute the rivers. But you also have, obviously, your malfunctioning wastewater treatment plants across the length and breadth of the country, which then impact on our rivers and our dams and our ecosystems, our water ecosystems.
Yeah.
And that is a major bugbear for us. You're looking for your immediate examples. The one example that is on top of mind, I think, for a lot of people would be the pollution of your Vaal River.
Correct.
Through the 42 malfunctioning wastewater treatment plants along the Vaal.
Yeah, the South African Human Rights Commission has thrown the spotlight on the Vaal system as well, isn't it?
Yes, it has, and we were very fortunate that we were cooperating very closely with the Human Rights Commission in the compilation of that report. And obviously, it is looking at the same issues that we have been in the main aware of. But obviously, the emphasis is much bigger now that the Human Rights Commission has come in. We are in the process where we are preparing our responses to the Human Rights Commission report as per their requirement that within 60 days we should give them that report, but we also are going ahead with the construction unit of the department, setting up processes to start the next 3 years' work that we are envisaging from the month of April or so that we can be able to get this behind us and make sure that the Vaal area that is so important, not just for tourism, but also for industry, comes back to life.
I understand that there are plans afoot to build or expand more dams. If that is the case, talk to us about certain timeframes. And, one of the issues that South Africans probably will ask you is, how do you ensure that you make it corruption-proof as well? Talk to us about that.
Through our planning processes, we look at what the requirements are, not just for now, but for the future. And that is what determines our ultimate decision as to where dams would be needed, what it is that we need to put in place in order for us to be able to put the infrastructure in place, as you are correctly putting it, that one of our basic responsibilities is to ensure the security of supply of water for the country in the long term. But one of the things that you would always battle with is this human nature of one, looking at shortcuts, and secondly, looking at quick wins, and sometimes those kind of things end up with corrupt intentions within the process. But what we are doing is we're looking at how we can tighten the processes from the time of the planning throughout, until we are able to put brick and mortar on the ground, so that we can be able to try as best as we could to make this as corruption-free as possible. But what we appreciate is also that, the law enforcement agencies have been very helpful as well in terms of coming to assist us to recoup some of these losses that we might have experienced over time, but also to see how we can be able to enhance our own processes, including obviously our internal audit component as well as our risk management component.
Climate change, global warming, greenhouse effect. These are sometimes terms that often fly over people's heads. thinking that this is still to happen. It's a long-term thing. But talk to us about the detectable effects of climate change here in South Africa. What are we learning with regards to that when we see, as you put it, the paradox in terms of some areas having an abundant amount of supply of water, others not? Can we push it and can we put it under the umbrella of climate change? What are we learning?
A few things that we are learning, Lane. In the first instance, the fact that the country continues to be more and more of a desert coming from the west. Secondly, is the fact that our rainfall, and you know that we struggle with rainfall as a country ordinarily, but our rainfall patterns have also changed so drastically. Our weather predictions have become unpredictable in themselves. So it is some of those things. But we're also looking at the fact that climate change has meant that how we need to look at our planning would also include the matter of looking at what long-term impacts of climate change are going to be on the country. And that is why, as the department, we have a fully fledged unit that looks at the issues of climate change impacts and also feeds into the nation's climate change response as part of the response to the CCC of the United Nations. So it's a whole process that informs some of the work that we do. And it's interesting when you speak to our climate change scientists at the amount of knowledge and also information that helps the department to be able to plan ahead. Part of that information, by the way, has also informed the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan that is going to assist the country to be able to look forward to 2030 and beyond.
Yeah, it's an important aspect in terms of looking at the larger context of what we're dealing with here. Sputnik Ratau, we thank you as always for your time. Be well.
Thank you and keep well.
All right, you too and your family. Sputnik Ratau, spokesperson for the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation.